Who are the MVP candidates behind James Harden? Can the Spurs be a factor when Kawhi comes back? Is there a battle being waged for the soul of basketball? The only question left is, say it with me, you win. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown podcast / live Periscope show. As always, I'm joined by Dave Dufour at Dave Dufour NBA. Dave, it's a Friday afternoon. Why not do a live show and a podcast?
That's right. You know, as I just said in the tweet where I shared the Periscope, everybody's working for the weekend, man. I'm ready for a nice Saturday morning.
Yes. Now, is that Eddie Money? Everybody's working for the weekend?
And the Cruisers. That's right.
Yeah, right. Eddie Money, you know, it's a funny thing. I used to say the four greatest stand-up comedy albums of all time were, you know, Bill Cosby himself, Eddie Murphy, Delirious, Richard Pryor, Live on Sunset Strip, and Eddie Money's Greatest Hits. So anyway, listen, Eddie. I'm sure Eddie Money's a great guy, really nice. I just find his songs are just. I need a hunger. I have a hunger. It's a hunger. I don't know. Like those are the kind of words I make me laugh. So nonetheless.
Hang on, wait. You like Delirious over Raw?
Oh, geez.
I mean, like Delirious is funny, but like Raw to me is because Eddie was like it was like peak Eddie. I mean, the leather.
Right.
It was. I also saw it in the theater when I was like, I mean, that was like, what, 86? I was like 5.
Oh, geez. Well, okay. Because that was the VHS thing. That had come out. People had like copies of that. We were watching it back then. So wait, Raw is the red leather and Delirious is they kind of all blurred in my mind. I can't even figure out which one's which now.
Yeah, Raw is the red, right? Am I crazy?
And I did see it recently. I was was watching it just to see does it stand up, and it does. It really is still really funny at this point. But by the way, I watched Johnny Carson, some excerpts of Johnny Carson, and that dude had me laughing, even on topical jokes from 1980. It was crazy.
Yeah, Raw is the purple leather. That was what it was.
Oh yeah, so red leather is Delirious. I don't know. Delirious might be better. Raw is sort of maybe less even. It's uneven a little bit, but. Delirious to me is all the great ones, nonetheless. But we're here to talk some NBA before everyone leaves. So what do you say?
They like it when we talk about this random stuff, I think.
Do they? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put down any other podcast, but they're out there, and we all know who they are. And I don't know. I kind of just be like, oh, okay. I mean, listen, if we want to talk JFK stuff, okay, like that, But by the way, I'm going to Dallas next week with my dad, and we're going on the most serious JFK tour for like 6 hours in Dallas. I cannot wait.
Wow.
Oh, all yeah.
Right. Well, so do a video about it, or
I'll have to film some stuff. But by the way, the tour guide asked me some questions to see just he's like, how deep are you and how much you know. We try to throw out Alan Dulles, and I was like, I saw his Alan Dulles and then blew him away with all the other stuff I know about how Watergate and JFK combined and fold over and stuff. So he was pretty impressed, and I think he's excited, and so am I. So we're gonna get some really deep information about the second grassy knoll and how there really wasn't any shooter in the grate underneath the street, which I never really believed, but nonetheless. So anyway. We'll come back and I'll report when I get back from Dallas next week. But let's do it. What do we want to talk about today?
Well, I think let's start just because it's that time of year. We all know that James Harden has the MVP award wrapped up, but there's been a lot of buzz about Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard, and a lot of buzz from me about DeMar DeRozan. I don't know if anybody else is on that train. So I thought, maybe let's talk. I want to know, because this is something you and I haven't really talked about. Who's your top 5 for MVP?
Ooh, the list thing is always crazy for me. I never kind of keep it jumbled in my mind clearly, but I would think that, Anthony. Oh, here's the thing about Anthony Davis. I wasted a day and a half last week about to do a video of the real MVP this year, and I had all this. I had Beyonce singing about the song about Houston Rocket Countdown, and I had highlights of James Harden, and I was going to do an abrupt. and then like them actually show James Harden just blocking the crap out of one of his shots. I mean, not James Harden, Anthony Davis blocking the crap out of James Harden's shot and then going from there. But when I did the net rating analysis of Anthony Davis, his effect on the court then last week, it was negative since Boogie went down. And I was like, he's doing all this amazing stuff, but like his team isn't even, outscoring the other team when he's on the floor. And I really just had to drop that whole conversation.
I think it just goes to show how much we pay attention to the raw numbers, right?
Yeah. But by the way, or how we shouldn't pay attention to net rating, like maybe that's not a good thing, but at least you got to be in positive, territory, don't you?
Right. I think the net rating, it can be overstated, right? Like Jimmy Butler is a good example of this for me. I just wrote something that's going to come out next week.
Where?
I'm on a round table for Hoop Mag, but I know.
You don't want to write for the newly revamped B-Ball Breakdown website, which, by the way, is now hosted by Clutch Points and has been destroying it out there. I mean, I can't believe what they've done in a week. So check out B-Ball Breakdown. It's a whole new look, whole new thing, but same great content.
Yeah, Jesse's going to be on my ass about this one, but I wrote about a little bit about Jimmy Butler because I think the Timberwolves are going to miss the playoffs.
Okay, sounds fair.
The Wolves have a +8 net rating when he's on, and a -9 when he's off.
So it's 17 difference, right? What do we call that?
Net differential.
Yeah, that's the term. That's actually the way I like to really look at it. Is what is the overall from the negative and the off on distance. I like that. So okay, so it's a severe impact. I wonder how many other players have that kind of impact. Probably hardly anybody.
Yeah, well, and it's a couple. There's a couple of factors that go into that. They depend on him so much, not just for his production on the court, but the minutes that he plays on the court. I mean, he's playing, like 38 to 44 minutes a game. And so he's out on the court a lot. And so much of their success happens when he is on the court. They don't have someone that can step in and kind of fill those shoes. And then they signed Derrick Rose, who they're probably going to play way too much. So, I just think that the Timberwolves are going to drop off precipitously here in the last few weeks.
Somebody asked me, though, if Derrick Rose will help. And so I said, well, is Derrick Rose better than Tyus Jones?
No.
You don't think Derrick Rose is going to give him more production than Tyus Jones in 18, 19 minutes a game?
Okay, but raw production and being a better player are two totally different things. I mean, I think that Tyus Jones is a better player for that team.
Okay.
He can hit threes. I think he's a better defender, better passer. Derrick Rose certainly is going to get to the rim more.
Yeah. But,
hey, look. I'd be a huge fan if Derrick Rose reunited with Tom Thibodeau and has a throwback. But remember, he and Jimmy Butler didn't really get along very well that last season in Chicago. So
I've forgotten that in the not getting along with Hoiberg later stuff. So okay, interesting. But Davis on court, by the way, really quickly, he is a plus 3.4 in the 14 games since Boogie went down. So he turned that around over the last couple games. So if you do want to argue him, so you want to argue Jimmy Butler over Anthony Davis as the next in line for the MVP?
Well, no, I would say DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
They're the number one seed in the East. That offense that we've all talked about being so much better and looking better, at least being more aesthetically pleasing, creating more space. So much of that is due to DeMar DeRozan and the fact that he has accepted what is a different role, right? I mean, he has turned himself into the secondary playmaker on that team. I mean, he's essentially plays co-point guard with Kyle Lowry. We watch him. Not only can he score 30 a game, which we know he can do, or 40 when they need it, but he's also doing things like he did the other night where he finds Fred VanVleet in the corner for a wide open three. And he actually had a contested mid-ranger that I feel like up to last year he would have taken, but he made the right play. And so I give him a lot of credit for that. Also, his on-court performance has been fantastic. And so, I think DeMar DeRozan, this is one of those things where the Toronto people really do have a genuine beef when they talk about being ignored.
Yeah, and wait. Can we point out, because I don't think you pointed out the dunk that he had to tie or to cut the lead, or no, to give him a 1-point lead. No, to give him a 2-point lead at the end of that game, right. Which was one of the more. And I didn't even go viral, that tweet. I have no idea why, because it was amazing. He inbounded, full court drive, dunk. Blake Griffin gets out of the way, doesn't play defense at all, and dunks on somebody else on the Detroit Pistons, Tolliver maybe, and he gets an and one. I've never seen a finish of the game like that. That was insane. And DeRozan was part of that for sure. So go ahead.
He's been fantastic this year, and I think that it's underrated. And so again, he's in my top 5 for MVP. I think that it's important that his team wins. I think that is such a huge deal. Something I argued against last year in my argument against Russell Westbrook. The fact that they were, what were they, the 5 seed or whatever? Mm-hmm. They won 48 games. James Harden was the MVP last year. And if you weren't going to give it to James Harden, you give it to Kawhi Leonard. And that's it. But I think that your team has to perform well, like one way or the other. And I get it. A lot of the same people who were arguing that Russell Westbrook had no help also wanted Steven Adams and Andre Robertson on the all-defensive team. So, you can't have it both ways.
Fair enough. And man, we need that shots fired sound effect for that Russ take on there.
Listen, I understand why he won it, and he had an amazing year.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is narrative driven. He had the triple-double that he averaged the whole season. He was just completely unconscious, late game situations. They won 48 games. He single-handedly won like 11 games for them. And just by hitting clutch shots and being just absolutely crazy at the end of games. So this isn't to knock the season that he had. I think he was electric. He was fantastic. He's the guy we will remember from last year. But we watered the award down when we awarded that way. And so, now there's an argument to be made that maybe it should be most outstanding or best offensive player or whatever you want to call it. In which case, okay, now you've got my ear a little bit, and you can make an argument. But with the way the award has been given, I just think that wins should matter. And DeRozan has been fantastic. So
absolutely, and it's funny. I mentioned this on Twitter earlier today, where when you kind of move to a more of a motion offense and the ball moves and you increase your passing, the guy that's going to suffer the most is the point guard. Now, people were like, and I did hashtag Lowry because that's the guy who's going to lose production. And, of course, people are like, well, what about Curry? Well, Curry certainly has his assists throttled because of that. He'll never average more than 6 or 7 assists a game in that system because the point guard just never has control of the ball that often. And I would argue that this is what we're seeing now. And Lowry's kind of had a bit of a lull here where he's not producing like he used to. Team's better, though.
Right, but and Lowry and DeRozan both are playing fewer minutes. So those raw numbers, the raw production is definitely lower. I mean, DeRozan's not scoring what he scored last year per game, but I think he's having a better season. And so this sets them up for better success in the playoffs as well. And this is, anytime I bring up the Raptors, that's all anybody wants to talk about. So let's talk about the playoffs just for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Bench in the league. They have the best bench in the league. They've got young legs that are actually contributing, which is going to be fantastic come April and May. And Lowry and DeRozan, their 2 most important players, have played fewer minutes this season, which means they're going to have fresher legs come playoff time. They may be able to, in the first round of the playoffs, they may be able to go 10 or 11 deep. That's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see if they will actually do that because we've seen Casey struggle with lineups in the playoffs before and either not adjusting or adjusting too much. So we'll see if that's going to get in the way. But you know what happens when you talk about the playoffs, Dave?
What's that?
You get me really kind of hungry. And when you're talking about being hungry, I can't think of anything better than to talk about the number one fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country, Blue Apron. And it really is a fantastic company that brings you food through your door. Things like short rib burgers and hoppy cheddar sauce on a pretzel bun.
How about last night? I had chicken tetrazzini.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Delicious. How was it?
It was fantastic, yeah.
Really? I mean, I got seared steaks and thyme pan sauce coming up with mashed potatoes, green beans, and crispy shallots. And it takes all of the things under 45 minutes. You've probably seen I've done Periscopes where I've actually cooked and answered questions at the same time in a great show. So definitely the thing that you need to try and check out because there's a lot of things there. Their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. And they achieve this by supporting a more sustainable food system with the highest standards for ingredients and building a community of home chefs. So you can do a 2-person meal plan, a family meal plan. They even have a wine plan for those of you who want wine. So really fascinating stuff, really great stuff. I can't tell you how much we enjoy it. My wife made one on her own the other night. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does.
Wow. That's impressive.
It really, believe me, if you know my wife a little bit, if you knew her, like you'd realize how impressive that really is. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm the cook in my house, so my wife just stays out of the way.
Oh yeah, well my wife feigns ignorance, like she doesn't know how to cook. So this is something like, the fact that she could actually read the directions and then follow through and made a really great breaded chicken thing that was amazing. So it's really convenient. They deliver all the stuff to your door, fresh. It's pre-portioned, so you don't have to be measuring anything. It comes right that way. They have a really flexible menu, whatever you like to eat. They can concoct things for you and adjust whatever they like it. And don't forget, if you go to blueapron.com/Coach Nick, you'll save $30 off your first order. So check out this week's menu, get your $30 off, go to blueapron.com/Coach Nick, and find out why Blue Apron is a better way to cook.
And by the way, I know that they're a sponsor of the show. I really do use Blue Apron, and so do you. Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic service. It's awesome. It's nice. It mixes up what we eat in our house, for dinner during the week. It's good stuff. So yes, and that's a sponsor, but it really is good stuff.
And it saves us I can't tell you, we do it twice a week where it's like, what's for dinner? Oh, we have Blue Apron. It's like it saves us a lot of time from spending way too much money either ordering in or going to or whatever. So it's really a lifesaver there. And, studies show that when your family cook together, they get along better. And that certainly is the case. My daughter and I will cook a lot of them. So, yes. But let's get back to the playoffs because we're talking about a lot of stuff here. I just did a video, by the way. I think we could talk about that, about the Rockets' offense. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet. Have you?
I haven't watched it yet, no. But
okay.
It's sitting in my YouTube queue to watch.
Well,
I like to watch your videos on the TV, right? It's like a big full screen effect.
All right, we'll have to get that Chromecast sponsorship next time. But here's what there was a couple things that came out that I thought were fascinating, and that all of the metrics they do that they measure with speed and distance, they're the last in. So they don't move. On average, the speed they move and how much they actually run is the last in the league, which is crazy because they're 10th in pace. But what we're finding out is that they're isolating more than any team has since the Melo years in New York for that 1 year. And then although Kobe did it in 06, 07 for the Lakers, they did it 20% of the time, they ISO, which is insane. The Rockets are at 14, but they're doing it more efficiently than any team ever since they started recording this as a stat on Synergy. But here's my concern, is that we now have an offense that literally doesn't really move the ball that much. They're 29th in passes per game, right. And they want to limit turnovers that way, get shots up. So we have that side where it's like a ton of ISOs, let one player create for everybody, right. Versus the Warriors and the Spurs, which are 5-man units working at five fingers on a hand and creating the shot together, a best shot. I kind of pose that question. Are we at a crossroads here where we're battling for the soul of basketball and what it's going to look like going forward?
I don't know about that. I think that this team is pretty unique. James Harden and Chris Paul are two of the best isolation creators in the last 25 years of basketball. And that just doesn't mean that they score in isolation. It means that they're able to create situations and advantages in isolation for other players on their team. And the Rockets have done a great job of, building a team that can accentuate those skills and capitalize on those skills. And so you get guys like P.J. Tucker, Luke Richard-Mbamute, Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, Clint Capella. So you can run isolation into other stuff, whether it's just the kick out to the corner and then you get the next pass to the wing, or their bread and butter, which is really pick and roll. I mean, I know they're running a ton of isolation, but they run more spread pick and roll then
Oh, well, that's what they actually are talking about. After the pick and roll, they forced the switch. And by the way, that I've never seen a team. So the Cavaliers laid the blueprint in 2015 for setting a screen and roll or running a screen and roll, getting the screen, and then letting LeBron ISO on, be it Curry or whoever else he wants to. Well, I've never seen a team like the Rockets ruthlessly attack this method so often, so many times in a row. Melo got spit roasted against OKC, and I remember I didn't watch the whole first half, but what I did see the last second half of the second quarter, it was literally 12, 15 possessions in a row, and every shot they got was either a wide open three or a layup. And it was all Melo guarding the ball screener, having to switch. And so I said, I don't think Melo's going to be able to play much in a playoff series against the Rockets. And people were like, oh, he's got 19 points, you idiot. I said, yeah, but they're down by 10. And you think he's going to score another 19 in the second half? So they did the same thing to Jabari Parker against Milwaukee the next night or whatever that was. So these guys are in playoff mode already, just relentlessly going to force your worst defender off the floor. And then hopefully you got somebody else who's better, but then you might suffer on the offensive end.
Absolutely. And, it reminds me of when people were playing Boston last year and constantly trying to force the switch for Isaiah Thomas, but they were doing that for post-ups. And post-ups are, a guy like Isaiah Thomas, yeah, he's short, but he's stout. So a post-up is not exactly great, right? Like you've got a defender. You're actually being defended. Whereas the Rockets are great about getting that big or a guy like Melo switched out onto Chris Paul or James Harden, who are going to be quicker and attack the basket. So you actually, they get a full head of steam. You can't, if you're the big, you can't hang back off of them because they'll shoot the 25-footer, as Chris Paul did a few times the other night. And James Harden, we all know, he's unconscious out there. He's taking 10 threes a game, and but he's also taking 10 free throws a game. So he's great at drawing contact. It really is. It's a murderer's row that they've got, and Chris Paul has worked perfectly as a partner for James Harden. And then, when they get into their other stuff, when they do run the 21 series, it's so deadly because you're worried about everything else they can do.
Yeah. By the way, it's hard to find possessions like that. At least I went through their scores. I went through about 200 of their possessions, half court of scores, which covers several games. I literally found 15 clips where they would score not doing a high pick and roll to start off with, which is crazy, or Spain pick and roll, which by the way they've so completely adopted that as an offense where they back screen the ball screeners, man, and it's so effective that they don't really need to do too much. Is this sort of an evolution? I know it's an evolution from Mike D'Antoni's offense in Phoenix. They're taking more threes, which is the one thing that D'Antoni's Suns, they led the league in threes for some of those years, but not enough. But I almost feel like it's another outcropping from Allen Iverson's days in Philly.
I wouldn't go that far because there are more actions. They do have other tools in their toolbox. They just don't use them. Right? If it's working, why would you just switch it up? If it's,
right.
I get it. And they're actually conserving energy this way, which is so funny to think about. But, so James Harden playing 36 to 38 minutes is not the same as maybe Klay Thompson's 36 to 38 minutes because Klay Thompson's so active away from the ball. JJ Redick, another guy who's working so hard for every single shot he gets. So, I think if it's not broke, you don't fix it.
Maybe, but Harden's working so much harder on offense just to create shots too, so that does balance out a little bit there, I would think. But either way, it's an interesting discussion as far as is this a battle for the soul of basketball? Are we going to now see people in high school? Because high school teams will have one really good player. I know I had a really good point guard, and we could have ran pick and roll every single time down. And I'm yeah, but then you're going to see the other three guys just standing in the corner or in the wing the whole time. That's not basketball, but that's not certainly the Rockets don't have an issue with that.
Well, Nick, I got to tell you, that's exactly what I did with my team.
I
had two good players, and we looked an awful lot. We looked an awful lot like this Houston Rockets team. Only I didn't have a bunch of guys that could sit in the corner and actually make threes. I do think. Now, I wasn't influenced by the Rockets on this. This is just, I think it's just what smart basketball people wind up doing. You're gonna want the ball in the hands of your best players, and you're gonna want to put the other lesser players in a position to succeed. And this is just, to me, this is an example of D'Antoni being non-dogmatic, of him saying, look at the tools I've got in front of me. I've got a screwdriver, I've got a drill, I've got a hammer. Not everything is a hammer, right? And he has come up with a way to make it work. Now, again, there's still a lot of D'Antoni in there, and you see it more with the second units and stuff like that. You see better ball movement with the bench. But yeah, I think I don't know, man. I think it's good. Now, will it be sustainable in the playoffs? How do you feel about that?
Well, the big question people will have is, will Harden continue to get the foul calls that he gets now? And he'll probably get, 2 less free throws a game, or maybe 2.5, whatever that is. But even still, the guy can score the ball, and I don't think that's going to affect him that much. So, there's not a lot of weak side screening to get things open. So I don't know. I guess for me, the jury is out, because then again, the Warriors sometimes look a little bit precarious too, because sometimes the ball's going to start moving, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like Nick Young is going to be able to make a decision. Then you're like, I don't think you want that to happen, right? So, and by the way, his defense, he gets lost. It's so frightening how often he gets lost. You don't have to it doesn't have to wait for more than a minute to see him just completely, turn the wrong way and the guy's cutting and they hit him. But nonetheless, so that's the worry, is that you're going to get the wrong guys making decisions on a motion-based offense like the Warriors run. Whereas at least, right, what you said, the Rockets you're guaranteed. Ryan Anderson knows the exact shot he's going to get, and with Harden is so good and CP3 is so good that they're going to deliver it to him, which, by the way, is another interesting parallel or comparison. A guy like LeBron James, who has been doing basically that same role all these years, I would argue he doesn't facilitate in the same way that Harden does, and certainly not like CP3 does. And so LeBron's role players tend to get into slumps easier because they don't get that same rhythm, where at the very least there's the same rhythm with the Rockets as the ball moves. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying, but I don't know if it's accurate. You know what I mean? Because it's not like LeBron takes a ton of shots.
Okay.
Compared to Harden, I would guess that their numbers are. He probably takes fewer shots than Harden.
Well, there's only if only we had a way of.
Yeah, if only we could.
And by the way, anybody out there who's going to complain about me, you can hear me typing. I'm sorry, but this is a live show. We need to do some referencing. So I'm sorry if you hear a little clickety clack while we do this. But hey, it's sometimes we got to get some answers from people. So look,
19 shots a game right now.
LeBron's taking how many? 19
a game.
All right, I don't think Harden's taking many more than that, is he?
Harden is taking 20, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I bet LeBron James is making more passes per game than James Harden, if you're counting like the hit-ahead pass and things like that.
I don't know. It would be interesting to find out, but I don't know about that. And by the way, we could look at that too if you wanted to while we're talking about stats. By the way, stats.nba.com is a gold mine. Might be hard to find some of the stuff in there, but it's a gold mine for information. So,
how to find everything. You need a map and a flashlight to find.
Yeah. No, I had a nice call with them about a few days ago for an hour, and they were like blowing me away. But I'm like, I had no idea that half the things were there. So, at any rate, I don't know. There's something about that, and we've seen it. We've seen like the Shane Battiers and the Ray Allens in that era of like with LeBron in the finals stuff, just going these long slumps. And I kind of feel like that doesn't necessarily happen as much, but we haven't seen, obviously Harden in the finals since, that when he was a role player. So we'll have to wait and see if that's any different or not. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious if we'll start seeing more like even the lower levels do what you did and what the Rockets are doing versus like, my take would be I'm gonna do my best to increase the skill level of everybody so they all can be a part of this. And at the very least, it's like they're setting weak side screens, they're catching the ball in the high post, they're doing other things where they're touching the ball and being part of the flow versus spotting up a lot more of the time, I suppose is the difference.
But if your goal is let's do what works and let's try to win a championship, I think Houston is on the right path. Now, this is the first team that I really felt like could potentially beat the Warriors in the playoffs.
Yeah, they believe.
Exactly. They're defending really well. They're obviously the offense is incredible, and they've got guys. The narrative around Chris Paul and James Harden not being good in the playoffs is a false one. Harden has he's had some high-profile games that things have not gone well. But, there was this narrative that Steph Curry wasn't good in the playoffs too, which is also completely wrong.
Right.
So, I think that I don't know. It's going to be fun, man, and we better get that series, and we better get it with everybody healthy. I'm going to be so disappointed if that doesn't happen.
I mean, okay. Maybe as we wrap up, we can talk about that. Like, I don't see that not happening. Right? They're going to be 1-2. So they're going to get a favorable matchup in the first round, I think. Although who knows what's going to be the first round at this point? Again, it's no less insane now than it was when we spoke about it, I guess, last week, right?
No, it's still pretty crazy. Listen, I don't know about you, but if I'm the Rockets, the team I definitely do not want to play before the Warriors is the San Antonio Spurs. There's just something there. And Kawhi's going to be back, and
he is.
Yeah, Kawhi's coming back soon.
Oh, I missed that news.
Yeah, so by the second round of the playoffs, Kawhi should be back to normal, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I would not want to play this Spurs team for some reason. This is if they make the playoffs. Like, they still could miss the playoffs, and I still think they're scary come playoff time.
I hear you. I mean, they're really, really tough. But again, there was an interesting stat by Oliver L. Martin on Twitter today where they're second to last in the league in crunch time plus minus because they don't have Kawhi. Like, with Kawhi, all of a sudden, yeah, they get there because they're just not good enough. They can compete with anybody, but they're not going to win. They would lose in 5 without Kawhi, I feel like. So the question, but Kawhi gets him to 7 or who knows if they can beat him. But it's really too bad because this is a long-term process for the Spurs where they developed Kawhi. They knew they're going to have him for 15 years, whatever it's going to be, right? And then he disappears, or he doesn't disappear. He's hurt. He can't play. And there really isn't any other contingency plan for that. They're not going to bring in other free agents and trades or stuff. So it really is too bad. They all their eggs are in this basket, and they got to get him to come, and they got to get him healthy and playing at the top of his powers.
Yeah, and in the recent swoon that they've had, LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't been 100%. He's got the ankle injury that's lingering a little bit. I just think that this small sample of recent games where they've looked pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. They looked great last night, by the way.
They did. They looked better.
Until the end. They had a 4-point lead with, the 2 minutes to go, and then they kind of just fell apart. And then, listen, Kevin Durant is insane.
Right.
And by the way, we didn't mention him as MVP, and I really think that he deserves at least, top 3.
I don't know, man. Again, I hate to be a hater because he plays with Steph, but I don't know. Maybe he should. Maybe I am just being a hater.
It's fatigue, I guess. It's LeBron. By the way, how is LeBron not in the top 3 discussion, right? He gets kind of tired. But Durant's scoring more than he did last year. He's shooting. Let's see. Is he shooting the same? He's shooting better, much better from 3. And overall, let's see, effective field goal percentage is about the same. 5.4 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. The guy's doing everything. He had a block on Bertans last night that was on the opening court that was just breathtaking. And
had Bertans kind of shook a little bit when he was going to pull up for 3 after that block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't Bertans just dunk that?
I think you're right. Well, Bertans should have dunked it because Bertans is a really good athlete.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think I think KD should be in that MVP conversation, and maybe he's the guy right behind Harden.
Right.
You brought up LeBron. I think that 2-month swoon that they had, where LeBron essentially didn't care and didn't play any D. Look, man, that has to matter.
It's a regular season award,
right? And if it was who's the best player in the league award, he would have won it for the last 10 years. But it's not that award. So Anyway, yeah. So I think I might be. You may have just convinced me that Durant is up there.
Okay, there you go. That was not hard.
No, it wasn't hard at all.
So yeah, all right. Well, we'll have to see. He should be up there. I guess LeBron should be up there somewhere. Damian Lillard should be up there. He's been doing. Listen, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum together, they've kept this team. Are they still third? Where's my?
Yeah, they're still third.
All right, I got too many tabs open. They're still third, but what's the difference here? How much do they have?
They've got a half game lead. But I think Dame should be in the conversation. By conversation, I mean conversation for being runner-up, not for being MVP.
And they're going to benefit because the Pelicans are the half game behind them, but now that AD is... By the way, AD wrenched that ankle, and he's not playing tonight, but he's not coming back for at least... if he comes back inside of 2 weeks, then he's definitely disobeying the doctor's orders as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree. And so, I worry about that the next 2 weeks for the Pelicans. I mean, they've won 10 straight. So
the Pelicans can slip out of the playoffs. So can the Timberwolves, and that means the Nuggets and the Jazz make it. And that's all these teams are worthy.
Just to kind of put in perspective how crazy the Western Conference is right now. The Rockets are on a 17-game winning streak. The Warriors are on a 7-game winning streak. The Blazers are on an 8-game win streak. They play tonight. The Pelicans are on a 10-game winning streak.
Yeah.
The Jazz are on a new 4-game winning streak, and this was after their 11-game winning streak. So I think that in their last, that's 13-2. So they're 17-2 in their last 19 or something like that.
Yeah. The 10th place team in the West would be 7th according to record in the East.
Yeah.
Which still doesn't even explain, the Jazz in a playoff series could easily beat the Bucks. They could beat the Heat. The Sixers, I don't know, but they can certainly, be worthy of a 6th seed in the East.
Yeah. So it's insane. It's so much fun. I love it, man. It's so much fun. We've got a statistical tie for the 8th spot right now with the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Jazz.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's awesome.
It is. And if you sound any more excited, then we have to give you some loot or something. But either way, I can't wait, especially because for the first time, the spring breaks of the kids don't line up with the playoffs this year, where they almost every year it's always been that way. They've been out for the first week. So I'm going to be here starting February or April, 16th or whatever the start date is. I'm going to be here front and center. We're going to be making multiple videos a day and just churning it out.
Right?
We'll be going live all the time. In fact, let's just do a live 24/7. Let's do a Big Brother style. What do you say?
Do a live channel. I'll wear a GoPro. Strapped to my chest.
Let's do that. Can you get a GoPro then hooked up to a phone that can then stream?
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. They have built-in Wi-Fi.
Oh no, just have your phone. Just get the thing for your phone. You don't need a GoPro. Just have your phone be the thing as the camera. So there you go. So we'll try to do something like that, and a lot of cool stuff coming up. If you haven't checked out the website recently, you got to check it out. bballbreakdown.com. We'll take you over to the Clutch Point side, and it's all the same great content. They're just doing an amazing job of it, and we're getting a ton more eyeballs on all of our stuff now. So it's been really exciting there. So thank you, Clutch Points. Dave, anything else you want to shout out?
No, just everybody check out my solo podcast on the NBA with Dave DeFore. I had Adam Mares on at the beginning of the week, and we kind of broke down how crazy the Western Conference is. Next week, I've got Miran Fader from Bleacher Report coming on.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a name I haven't heard.
Yes, we're going to talk about. She wrote a really great piece about LaMelo Ball in Lithuania.
Oh,
We're a little bit about that. And that's it.
Nice.
And follow me on Twitter at Dave DeFore NBA so that you can catch all my jokes
as they come fast and furious. So, thanks, Dave, for coming on the show. Awesome stuff today. Thank you guys for joining us over on Periscope, and then on the podcast, we'll post this later on today. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.